Hello. Look how green it is behind me. And just look where I am. Well, you might not recognize it much, but it's actually sea. The sea. So yeah, I've changed my environment, and this is what I wanted to talk about today. So I actually eventually realized that I do need to move from where I lived and to say yes to that job offer that I had, because eventually I did understand that it's not all about money, and it has a lot to do with my inner wanderlust and the necessity for me to move in order to move on, because the place where I lived was like a womb of me and my partner, like our last nest where we called home, and it would never be able to be home for me alone in there. And as soon as he left that place, well, I couldn't let it go, but I had to, in order for it all to make sense. So, but I don't regret postponing this decision, because this YouTube thing would probably not be happening. And I understood a lot about my own relationship with money, the things that I talked about in my second video. So it didn't go to waste. And sometimes those decisions, you just have to make a decision just to get out of that zone where you just stuck and you cannot think about anything else. So you make that decision, and you know what? You can always change your mind. Pretty much always. Unless it's life and death thing. But we're not talking about those things right now. And guess what? When I when I moved in here, well, it was such a huge gift, because it was probably the hardest thing that I had to do. Well, one of the hardest things that I had to do in my life, because I went through this crazy, icky, dark, sticky, gooey, slimy, emotional purge. And my first day was it was a complete nightmare, because what I found in here was just nothing that I've expected. The accommodation that I found in here was just probably the worst that I've ever had a privilege to live in. I don't know, maybe I'll go into detail a little bit later at some point, but I don't know, I just felt like I've betrayed myself, I've betrayed those people that I left behind, that I decided to call my friends, and they were just amazing community. I thought that mostly I thought that I've betrayed myself, because I said that I'm gonna, give this whole summer to myself. And here I am, saying yes to this whole job of being a waiter again, and it was a lot of things. I just felt completely alone. Like I've never felt this alone before. I've never been single in my adult life, and there's a lot of things to learn. But as days move on, as time moves on, I start to realize the value of it all, and that this place is not that bad. I mean, it's not the greatest place, but I'm sure I'm gonna learn a lot. And what I have to learn the most right now is just to be flexible and not to see everything in black and white, you know. And this is not the last job and not the only job, and this is not my last summer and not the only summer, and not the only time that I can just work on my projects and dreams, and I can do everything simultaneously. And you never know what's gonna happen. And the thing is that what I've understood is that life is so much more complicated than we can ever start imagine. But the key to start understanding it is simplicity. Just, you know, just being simple in the way you think and the way you do things, and just taking one day at a time, one step at a time, having that vision of, where you want to be, who you want to be, with whom you want to be in a year, in 5 years, but with being in that present moment and taking that one step and doing that mindfully. And of course, the hardest thing is to live through those really, really hard, really dark, slimy, gooey, icky, emotional moments, because you never know when they're gonna end. Sometimes it's the next morning, sometimes it's next week. And it's not that time heals, it's healing takes time. And I'm healing, I'm very much healing. And I need to give myself time and just, loosen up that pressure of accomplishing everything I want in this one summer. So, in a way, I just told myself, you know what, Audra, thank you for this gift, but I might need a little bit something else, or just to, work on myself, but not forget to live as well, and integrate environment in my inner work as well, because yes, it sounds wonderful to sit at the top of the mountain and meditate day in, day out for months and years, in this serene solitude, for instance. But it's a completely different challenge that requires a lot more creativity and patience and, God knows what else, to meditate, to find that, calm and kindness in a noisy environment, to find love in your heart when meeting people, whoever they are, whether you like them or not, but just treat everyone with kindness and love. So basically, yeah, I cannot sit in one place for too long. I find great discomfort in comfort. But we'll see where this leads me to. So this is for now, and just know that this YouTube channel is gonna go on and thrive eventually. I'm gonna be okay. That first day was just, I survived that day. I survived this whole trip with so much stuff, with so much, I mean, like material stuff that I accumulated while living in a very comfortable, uh, life, settled in. I survived this whole shock and this whole huge contrast between what I've left behind and what I found in here. But there's such a art in seeing the beauty, even in the most crazy things. Because it's very easy to appreciate an obvious beauty, but it's so much more rewarding to find that beauty where you wouldn't think to find. Okay, guys and girls, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching and take care.